If you grew up in the 1970s, you weren't just shaped by the time, you were quietly trained by it. Not in obvious ways, not in ways anyone sat down and explained to you, but in small, consistent patterns that became part of how you think, how you react, and how you move through the world today. And the strange part is, a lot of those things don't even make sense anymore. But they still feel right. Number 1. You learned to be independent. Earlier than you realized. Growing up in the 1970s meant stepping into independence long before you ever thought of it that way, because it wasn't presented as something special or something you had to earn. It was simply expected. You moved through your day without constant supervision, figuring out where to go, what to do, and how to handle situations as they came up, often without anyone checking in or guiding you through it step by step. There was a quiet understanding that you would manage, that you would make decisions, and that you would learn from whatever happened next. That kind of environment didn't feel unusual at the time because everyone around you was doing the same thing, but it shaped the way you approached the world in a lasting way. You became comfortable making choices on your own, even small ones. And over time, those small decisions built into a larger sense of confidence that didn't rely on constant reassurance. You learned how to solve problems in real time, how to adjust when something didn't go as planned, and how to keep going without needing immediate validation that you were doing it right. Number 2. You became comfortable with uncertainty. One of the quieter ways growing up in the 1970s shaped you is how comfortable you became with not knowing exactly what was going to happen next, because so much of life operated without constant updates or immediate answers. Plans weren't always clearly defined, timelines shifted, and there were long stretches of time where you simply had to wait and see how things unfolded. Uncertainty became something you lived with rather than something you tried to eliminate. At the time, this didn't feel like a challenge. It just felt normal. You made plans loosely, you adapted when things changed, and you filled in the gaps with your own judgment instead of relying on constant communication. That created a kind of patience that didn't need to be taught because it developed naturally through repetition. You learned how to sit in that space between knowing and not knowing without feeling the need to resolve it immediately. Number 3. You learned to read people without words. Growing up in the 1970s meant you became highly attuned to people in ways that didn't rely on direct communication because not everything was explained out loud and not every feeling was openly expressed. You learned to pick up on tone, posture, silence, and small shifts in behavior that told you what was really going on beneath the surface. A glance, a pause, the way someone walked into a room. Those details carried meaning, and over time, you became skilled at interpreting them without needing confirmation. This awareness didn't feel like a skill you were developing. It just became part of how you understood the world around you. You learned when to speak and when to stay quiet, when something was fine and when it wasn't, even if no one said anything directly. That sensitivity created a kind of social awareness that went beyond words, allowing you to navigate situations by reading the atmosphere instead of waiting for instructions. Number 4. You developed a strong sense of figure it out. In the 1970s, when something didn't work or didn't go as planned, there wasn't always an immediate solution waiting for you, and there certainly wasn't a quick way to look one up. You were expected to adjust, to experiment, and to find a way forward using whatever you had available at the moment. That process of figuring things out became second nature, not because it was taught formally, but because it was necessary. You learned to approach problems with a kind of quiet determination, trying different approaches until something worked, even if it took time or a few mistakes along the way. There was an understanding that things didn't need to be perfect right away. They just needed to move forward. That mindset built resilience because you weren't relying on immediate answers or outside solutions. You were relying on your own ability to adapt. Number 5. You learned that comfort wasn't always the priority. Not everything was designed to be easy, soft, or convenient, and you didn't expect it to be. Whether it was clothes, routines, or daily expectations, there was an understanding that a little discomfort was normal and manageable. That shaped your tolerance in a way that still exists today, where you don't immediately look for the easiest option because you're used to working through things instead. If this felt familiar in ways you didn't expect, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on Facebook. I post new videos like this every week, and there's always something that brings you right back. Number 6. You became highly aware of your environment. You paid attention to what was happening around you, not because you were told to, but because it was necessary. You noticed who was where, what time it was, what was expected, and what might happen next. That awareness became part of how you move through spaces, and even now, you tend to notice details and changes that other people might miss entirely. Number 7. You learned to accept limits without question. There were boundaries you didn't always understand, but you respected them anyway because they were part of how things worked. Whether it was time, space, or access to something, you didn't expect everything to be available whenever you wanted it. That created a natural sense of limits that still affects how you approach rules, structure, and expectations today. Number 8. You became resourceful without realizing it. You didn't always have exactly what you needed, so you learned to use what you had in creative ways. That ability to adapt, reuse, and make something work carried over into adulthood, where you still tend to look for solutions within reach instead of immediately looking for something new. It's a quiet kind of problem-solving that comes from habit more than intention. Number 9. You learned that not everything needed to be explained. There were plenty of things you just accepted without a full explanation, and over time that taught you how to operate without needing every detail spelled out. You became comfortable with figuring things out as you went, filling in gaps on your own, and moving forward even when you didn't have the full picture. That mindset still shows up today in how you handle new or unfamiliar situations. And I want to hear from you. What's one way growing up in the 1970s shaped how you think or act today that you didn't even notice until later? Let me know in the comments. Number 10. You carry a sense of, that's just how it is. There's a certain acceptance you developed, a way of understanding that some things are simply the way they are, and you work within that instead of trying to change everything. It's not about giving up control. It's about knowing when to adapt. That perspective shapes how you deal with everyday life, often making you more flexible and grounded than you even realize. None of these things felt unusual at the time because they were just part of growing up in that environment. But together, they created a way of thinking and reacting that stayed with you long after the decade ended. And even now, those patterns still show up in small ways, reminding you that where you grew up continues to shape how you move through the world. Everything I featured today is linked in the description below. Go check it out. If this took you back, click the one on your screen. It's all the strange ways growing up in the 1970s shaped you.